I want to make sure that this column here, which contains this element there, I want to make sure that it's actually inside of a center, so it's centered, right? So click here, and of course, you know by now I can center it. Now, sometimes this is not possible, meaning if you try to click in one of these widgets, we don't have this yellow element or yellow bulb, light bulb there. Usually it's because you probably need to restart your IntelliJ. Okay, so if you don't see this, then just restart your IntelliJ. It should open again. Okay, so I'm going to click and I'm going to add the center widget. You notice that right away everything is centered. Now, if you save this, you should see probably not a lot of difference, but it will make a difference as we continue putting the user interface together. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create this area here where we're going to have the bill amount, the split tip, and the slider. Notice here we have this nice border with a not so thick line surrounding it. So this is what we're going to be putting together right now. Let's go ahead and do that. So still inside of our widgets, right? This list inside of this main container here. Let's see right there. And you can see where we end the widgets there. So still inside here, I'm going to put a comma and add another container. So this container here will obviously contain what I just showed you. Let's go ahead and add our child here, which is going to be another column. As such, it's a column because I want to make sure that everything is vertically aligned. So we're going to have our text field and then the split and so forth. Of course, within each item inside of our column, we are going to add the row there as well. So we can have a structure like this. So actually this should be column. I meant to say a column like this. Very good. Inside of our column, we're going to have children. This is where we're going to be adding our text field. But before I even go there, let me go ahead for our container here, make sure that everything looks good. Let's give it a margin to make sure that we have at least some sort of a margin only. I just wanted the top margin to be about 20. And let's give it padding. Go to edging sets again. And in this case, I'm going to say all because I want the overall padding. So about 12.0. If you save that, not going to see anything because we haven't changed anything yet or added anything inside, but that will change soon. And let's give it decoration, box decoration as such. And let's start with a color. The color is going to be, I'm going to add colors that are transparent because as you see, I want it to just be transparent. So it's going to take the color of the background, whatever it's in the back. In this case, it's white. And next, we're going to give a border. So I'm going to say border like this. And for a border, we're going to pass a border.all because we want a border for around the entire component. So for our color, I'm just going to say colors.blue, gray, and I'm going to actually give a shade of 100. Save this. Notice we see this very nice border. Now, it's not as we want it yet because we haven't added anything inside of it. At least you can see the border there. And while we're here, we can actually also add a style to our border. In this case, it's going to be border style. And I want solid, which is as you see there. And then outside here, I'm going to add a border radius so that we can have that nice radius that we like. So I'm going to say border radius, I should say. I want a circular, and let's say about 12.0. And you can see now it's very circular. Now, again, this is going to be extended a little bit, and it's going to be much better. We get there. All right, so now that we have at least our border set up and everything is good, now we can work on the children inside of this column. The first thing, I'm going to add a text field. And for text field here, we are going to pass a keyboard. So the keyboard type that we want to show, it's going to be a text input type. And we want the number options as such, and we want to make sure the decimal to be true. So that way we can also invoke or add decimal numbers. And next, I'm going to pass a style. I'm going to say text style. In this case, for color, let's say colors.gray. Very good. And we're going to change a few colors in a second here to make it much better. And I'm going to put a decoration, and then I'm going to pass a decoration here. It's going to be input decoration. Notice the difference here. Before, we have this kind of different decorations. When we create decoration for a container, it's going to be box decoration. Makes sense. For decoration inside of text field, it's going to be an input decoration. Makes sense. I'm going to add the prefix text right? The text that comes before anything, that will say bill amount. Save. All of a sudden, you're going to see there is our bill amount there, but nothing is going to show until you tap and click, and there is bill amount. If you want, you can also say prefix icon. I can say icons or icon, I believe, and pass icons like that, and get, let's say, money. Attach money so like this. If you save, you're going to see now we have that $sign there. Okay, very easy, and it's all given to us. Notice when I click, because it's a text field, it knows exactly, it shows all numbers, and there's the decimal point there that we can use as well. Very good. I kind of quite like that. I may change later, but for now, let's just leave it as it is. Now, any text field here, it has other properties and methods we can call on, events that we can actually listen for. One of which is actually, if you say on, notice that we have a few options. So we have the on changed, on submitted, on tap, obscure text. That is for passwords and so forth, right? So in this case here, we want on change because we want to make sure that as things change, as user add numbers, bill amount here, we want to make sure that we account for that event. So we need to pass something. In this case, it's going to be a value of type string. And what are we going to do inside here? Well, inside here, we're going to put a try and catch. This will protect our application for many things. So we are putting everything inside of a try and catch here just to make sure that if this value that we're passing, that we're receiving as users enter and change those values in our text field, we want to catch any exception that may happen, any errors and so forth. Okay, so in this case here, what are we going to do? I'm going to invoke the bill amount. Notice the bill amount, it's a private variable that we created at the top here, okay, which will contain the bill amount. In this case, the bill amount, we're going to set it to whatever we're receiving at this point here, because on change, notice we're passing the value, which is going to be any value that we have added there. Okay, so in this case here, I'm going to say double dot parse. I'm going to parse the value. Now, why am I doing this? Because first of all, bill amount, we said it's going to be a double. And what we're receiving here, anything we received from a text field, as the name implied, it is a type of string. So we need to parse it into an actual double so that it makes sense for our bill amount variable to receive a double. Make sense? There we go. So now whatever we get here, let's say it's 100 as a string, is going to be passed in, and it's going to be an actual double. Okay, that's what we're doing here. Now, if something happens, what we're going to do, we want to make sure that our bill amount is not a random bill amount. We want it to still be the 0.0. Now, we can change this if you want it. We can say $10, or we can go ahead and put another number as a 10 or 100, whatever, doesn't matter. But we want to make sure that if anything happens, we're going to set it to 0.0 again. That way we're protected. Now, before we move forward here, you notice that if I go to projects, I've added, without you seeing, I've added this other folder called util. So this is just for utility functions and classes and so forth. I added this hex color.dart. If you click on that, you notice that it's just a little class here that extends color. So what I'm doing here, I'm converting hex values for colors. So you notice colors can be represented as a hexadecimal values. I'm converting anything from hex value into something that we can actually use in our application. In this case, we're parsing it into an integer because all the colors in Flutter are in integer. So that's what I'm doing here, okay? So now what's going to happen is if I want to go online and find a hex value, a hexadecimal value, as you can see here, we can actually create a color type that Flutter understands so that we can use in our application. That's what we're doing here. So here is the implementation. So we say color type, say color A or 1, and we invoke the hex color, which is our class here. And in this case, we pass the actual hex color like this, and then it's going to give us the color we can use. That's all we're doing here. So you should have this, and I didn't want it to bore you, so that's why I just coded it real quick and put it in this project so you have it. So you can use it anytime you want. In fact, you can use it in any other project you want for the rest of your life. All right, that's what we're going to be doing. So what I'm going to do now is, for instance, there is this text that says color gray. Just to give you an idea, I can come up here, create a color. Notice it has to be a color type. Makes sense. I'm going to make this private, say purple, and I'm going to say hex color like that. And I'm going to pass this color here. So I'm going to say 690AD6 like that. So I know this color. That's the color we're going to be using. And notice we have a problem here. No problem. We are going to have to import that library. Okay, so now you can see at the top, we've imported the util hex.color.dart. Now I can use this purple anywhere I want. So we copy this. If I come, let's see, let's close this down. How about here? This purple color here, I can get rid of this. And I can just go ahead and say purple. There we go. And if I want it, I can actually say with opacity again and pass the opacity. So how visible do I want this color to be? The closer to 0 the number, the more invisible it will be. Okay, it will just be dimmed down. So in this case, I'm going to say 0.1. Finish like that. If I save this, all of a sudden you can see now we have this very nice background color there, and it is a color that we created from an hex or hexadecimal color, just like this. Okay, so you can go online and just look for hexadecimal colors and get those, and you can convert them as you saw us doing at the top here, because we have access to our hex color class, and then pass to a color type, and you can use anywhere. The other thing I can do, let's go to our text field. And for text color here, or text style, I can just change this to purple, like that. Save. Now, anytime you add something, you can see now it turns to that color. All right, so you learned a few things new here, and in the next video, we're going to continue building our awesome tip calculator. I hope you're having fun. I'll see you next.